Ready to roll. Get ready to turn left. Turn left.
All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Jonathan Tab with the International 9800 on the last Friday morning for children as they go back to school here in Clay County on Florida on Tuesday. We're going to start with batteries in Montana, and after that, it's going to be the long ride. So, and let's hope how it feels on this Friday morning. So, by going for a ride.
Caution, please mind the speed. Keep left, and then turn left. Turn left. This is where it ends. Let's do this. Okay, let's find a new route.
This programming is sponsored by attorney mediator Ron Bankston, providing in-person, video conference, and hybrid mediation and arbitration services. More information is available at ronbankston.com.
New era.
Yep, you get the two of us every day.
I'm officially joining Hello Houston on Monday, August 17th.
We'll explore the stories, ideas, issues, and personalities that make this city so special. And of course, we welcome you to join our daily conversation.
It's Hello Houston, where Houston talks. Now with more Tessa and more Ernie, weekdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Progressive Insurance, committed.
Keep right, and then
No problem. What? Oh.
Never mind. I'll find a new route.
This programming is sponsored by Carr, Riggs & Ingram, a top 25 nationally ranked accounting and advisory firm, offering tax, audit, and business consulting services. Learn more at criadv.com.
Mr. Matters. After 42 days, a workers' strike at a Texas City chemical plant has ended. The strike began after Ashland Specialty Chemicals proposed a new contract that removed benefits for senior workers, reorganized job positions, and reduced sick leave benefits. Lewis Crawford is a lead negotiator for the Texas City Metal Trades Council, which represents the workers. He says the company ended up offering more leave time and safety precautions than in the original contract.
We feel at the end of the day, it was the best we could do, and we'll tackle it again for years.
In a statement, Ashland Specialty Chemicals says it is pleased to have reached a contract with the workers. In sports, the Astros are back on the field tonight. After a day off yesterday, Houston takes on the San Diego Padres with what will be a first of a three-game series. The Stros are currently a game and a half in front of the Texas Rangers for first place in the division. There's a little more than a month and a half left in the regular season. I'm Matt Harrell, News 88.7.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on News 88.7 and Houston Public Media's YouTube channel. Coming up this hour, back to school health, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and Mean Girls the musical. But first, Fort Bend County's fight over who has authority to serve as county judge won't get resolved in court until after Election Day. The county's Democratic commissioners are asking acting Judge Daniel Wong to abstain from budget and tax votes. Meanwhile, Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo's tax increase proposal for early child care has failed for a second time, and a proposed desalination plant that would sit near Galveston Bay in Texas City just moved one step closer toward permanent approval. Joining us to discuss these stories and more are the Houston Public Media reporters who cover Harris, Fort Bend, and Galveston counties, Sarah Grunow, Melissa Nahe, and Juliana Marshall. Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Melissa, let me start with you and with the continuing saga
Go straight on.
over whether acting Judge Daniel Wong has authority to preside over Commissioner's Court. A hearing on a civil lawsuit brought by County Attorney Bridget Smith Lawson was held this week. What happened?
Yeah, so the judge here in this case basically set a series of accelerated deadlines in the Cora Warrenton case and kept in mind these accelerated dates that keep in mind the September 10th when the county has to adopt a budget and tax rate, and so
struggling with affordability in Harris County. So Commissioner Tom Ramsey also mentioned that they are facing what could be the highest tax rate in the county's history in the next fiscal year, 2027. But Judge Hidalgo actually called this an affordability issue and something that would only benefit low-income families who struggle to find affordable childcare.
These programs were previously funded by COVID-19 era federal funding that's gone now. Does this mean basically that these programs themselves are effectively gone?
Well, these COVID era funds are set to expire by the end of the year, so if they want to keep these programs up and running, commissioners will have to look for other funding sources. If they can't find alternative funding sources for these programs, then those will begin to wind down this year.
All right. Meantime, commissioners voted unanimously to approve funding for Harris County DA Sean Tier's investigation into the killing of Houstonian Lorenzo Salgado Araujo by ICE agents last month. Why is this approval significant?
Yeah, this is not a typical procedure for the district attorney's office, and any efforts to really investigate and potentially prosecute federal agents would be very costly for the county. So yesterday, DA Tier said that this investigation is moving rapidly, and they've already collected a lot of evidence in the case. So he said that these funds are in anticipation of what could be a very lengthy legal battle over the next several years if they find the charges could be pressed. So part of what this could fund is outside legal counsel, for example, if it gets to that point.
All right, to Juliana now in Galveston. Wednesday night, there was this massive fire which destroyed the Texas Gulf Seafood Warehouse on Pier 7. What do we know so far about what happened there?
So there hasn't been a cause that's been determined for this fire. I spoke with the Galveston Fire Chief, and he said it's probably going to be a lengthy investigation, just because it was such a huge fire in this warehouse. And so we'll find more out about that later, but I will say that Wednesday night, I mean, it was engulfed in flames. The fire chief himself said it looked like an entire city block was on fire, and I can tell you that even this morning, a day and a half later, they're still working to put out flare-ups, which, just goes to show how large it was.
Could we see an impact on seafood going to area restaurants and supermarkets?
Right, so like you said, this warehouse, it's a seafood warehouse that helps supply seafood for restaurants and for grocery stores. So I reached out to the Texas Restaurant Association yesterday, and they told me that they're not sure yet what this impact could be, but they already, are hit with very high prices in the seafood market. And so they're keeping a very close eye on this, because if there is any sort of impact, it really could affect. There might be shortages, but that hasn't been determined yet. I can say immediately I've heard that there are impacts on people, local fishermen who weren't able to get out to work yesterday just because that area has been contained where their boat is and where they would need to get out. And then of course the employees at the warehouse aren't able to work either.
The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality recently announced a complete review of an application for a proposed desalination plant near Galveston Bay in Texas City. What should residents know about the proposed Bayshore desalination facility?
Yes, so this desalination facility is supposed to produce 24.5 million gallons of drinking water a day for a region that's home to around 8 million residents. So it's supposed to really stay ahead of any sort of water shortages. Now, people in the community are worried about how it could affect the environment, how it could affect the bay. They're worried about the shallowness of the bay, and just in general
88.7 and YouTube.
Hello, I'm Ernie Manous, and a new era of Hello Houston is coming.
And I'm Tessa Barrera, officially ushering in that new era.
Yep, you get the two of us every day.
I'm officially joining Hello Houston on Monday, August 17th.
We'll explore the stories, ideas, issues, and personalities that make this city so special. And of course, we welcome you to join our daily conversation.
It's Hello Houston, where Houston talks. Now, with more Tessa and more Ernie, weekdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Baylor College of Medicine. With over 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science.
Award comes from the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. A crooked nose, uneven eyes, and elaborate headdress defying Picasso's The Yellow Sweater. This and others in masterpieces from the Museum Baton Rouge, now on view. Details at mfah.org.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. Many students across Greater Houston will head back to school next week where they will study, socialize, and spread germs. From exposure to viruses to changing diet and exercise and sleep schedules and beyond, there are a number of health-related challenges families will navigate as a new school year begins. Let's discuss now with Dr. Desiree Evans, pediatrician at Texas Children's. Dr. Evans, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we welcome your questions about return to school and health. You can call or text 713-440-8870. Email us at talk@houstonmatters.org. Or you can post a question on our live video stream on Houston Public Media's YouTube channel. Let's begin with sleep, one of my favorite subjects anyway. Kids' schedules are typically more regimented during the school year and less so during the summer months. So there may be some good sleep habits that they sort of fall out of during the summer. How do you recommend parents get kids back on standard sleep schedules as school starts up again?
So we usually recommend that parents start with their sleep schedules, adjusting them about 2 to 3 weeks before school starts. Unfortunately, school is starting this week. So what we like to do is say about what we want to do is actually move their sleep schedule up about 30 minutes every day. So that way they're going to bed a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier, and it kind of gets their bodies ready. But also in the mornings, make sure you wake them up. So even though they're going to bed a little bit earlier, make sure you get them up, almost like they're getting ready for school. Especially for younger kids, get them up, get them dressed, let them have breakfast, just so their bodies also acclimate to going to bed early, but also getting up early as well. The other thing we recommend is for parents to do the same thing. A lot of times kids will follow the parents, so once you put them to bed, you put yourselves to bed. So that way you too get acclimated to getting up early, getting yourself ready, getting them ready, and almost help yourself to get on a schedule to get ready for school for the day.
It's a great tip that I suspect a lot of parents just don't follow. I mean, let's be honest. And part of it also is all the things that parents need to do before they
Go
head
straight
off to
on.
sleep, or to get up even earlier ahead of the kids to get the kids ready. Anyway, how critical is it for the health of kids of all ages just to consistently get a good night's sleep?
It's extremely important. We know for a fact that children who don't sleep will suffer with regards to their mental health, their academic performance, their social skills and everything, because they're tired. They can't focus properly. The thing is, we don't want to believe that we're competing with sleep. Sleep should be what actually enables us and gives us the strength to be better, to be stronger. When you realize that if you get enough sleep, kids actually perform better. When you compete with sleep and try to say, I'm going to do everything before sleep, you realize that you don't function as well. And we realize that kids who sleep more, who get better rest, who get good rest, meaning your phones are off, TVs are off, they actually perform much better. And the studies have shown that. So we know for a fact that all the children need sleep. We know a lot of the kids are doing lots of exercises and after-school activities and everything like that. Allow them on the weekends to catch up on that rest. Let them sleep in some Saturdays, sleep in some Sundays, so that way they do catch up on that rest, because it is super,
settle into or back into good dietary habits as they enter the lunchroom each day. And let's face it, are probably engaging in some snack swapping with their classmates.
They are. And we try to encourage our kids not to swap snacks just because the reason of allergies. Some of our kids may have allergies, so try to talk to your kids about, hey, if there's something you don't like, maybe just send it home or let me know so I won't pack it in your lunch. But try not to buy all the junk food. I know we enjoy it sometimes, but I tell parents, stay on the outer parts of the grocery store. That's where all your healthier foods are. All of your, eat your rainbow, your reds, your greens, your yellows, your vegetables, your fruits, your meats, your proteins. That's what's going to really give kids the energy, the parents the energy. Yes, you can have a snack here or there, something fun, but really try to encourage your family and your kids to not purchase all the junk foods that we've been eating over the summer, so that way they have all the energy. We know for a fact that for our athletes, for example, you don't want to feed them tons of chocolates and sweets before they go out on the field. You want to give them protein, something that's going to convert to energy that they can use and they can perform at their best.
A lot of students have early morning or late afternoon and evening extracurricular activities that kick in. How can parents ensure their kids get the nutrition they need if they are rushing from one activity to the next around those traditional meal times?
So weekends is a great time for prep. And I actually tell parents also get the kids involved. Ask them, what is it that you would like to eat? Bring them to the grocery store. Let them do overnight oats. And if you do something like that, have them make it. Buy the stuff. Have the kids get involved in the prep. A lot of times if they get to prepare it, then they're excited about eating it. They can tell their friends, hey, I made this last night. Use the weekends as a great time to prep some of your meals, some of the breakfasts that you can make and put in the freezer, then pull out, put in the microwave real quick and take it on the go. A lot of the overnight oats and you can use, as well as yogurt, things like that are easy, that are quick for kids, but still nutritious and healthy. And use your weekends and your Sundays for a great family time for you guys to prep your meals, your breakfasts, your lunches, your dinners as well, and really get your kids involved, because that makes them really take ownership and take charge of what they're putting in their body and what they're doing.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. We're discussing how to navigate the many health challenges a new school year can bring with the help of Dr. Desiree Evans, a pediatrician at Texas Children's. We welcome your questions and comments at talk@houstonmatters.org or 713-440-8870. A return to school for many kids also means a return to daily gym activities, school sports. What are some general tips, not just for parents and students, but also for coaches, about how to make that physical activity a positive experience for kids and something that can be a habit for them?
So firstly, make sure that the kids get their physicals. Go into your pediatrician. They will examine them, talk to them about safety, about how to have a great year, how to be at their best performance. That's the first thing. Second thing, make sure you're hydrating. The hydration for sports starts before you get on the field. You really want to start hydrating a few hours before, and then make sure you hydrate a few hours afterwards, and also make sure you're having a good meal. Don't not eat breakfast, not eat lunch, and then decide you're going to go out on the field and play and perform and practice. That doesn't work. Your body needs the fuel in order for you to be at your best. Coaches are really taking ownership now of their players. They're making sure that they're hydrating, making sure that they're at their best. If they're injured, make sure that they get checked. Go in, have somebody assess you. The teams really take ownership of this as well to make sure that their players are performing well. If they see that they're injured, a lot of time coaches do make sure that they sideline them, make sure they're checked by the medical professionals that are on the field, so that way they can make sure that they are at their best and they don't continue to get hurt or injure themselves as well. And I applaud the coaches for this, because I feel like they've really taken a good ownership of this through the years to making sure that the students are doing a great job and that they really are performing at their best.
There is physical health and then there's mental and emotional health. What general suggestions can you offer parents for how to ensure that their kids are navigating a new school year, what might be a new school, could be new social dynamics, and health?
So talk to your kids, especially for our younger ones who may be going to new schools, even our older ones who are going to high schools and it's new for them, telling them being nervous is normal. It is okay, because you're going into a new environment, you're meeting new people. So really have that open conversation. The kids are not going to start the conversation. So the parents can, make sure that you are watching your children, assessing how are they doing? Do they seem sad? Do they seem like they're kind of recluding to themselves? Watch their friends, tell them that, things will go up and down, but just to be who they are, to be themselves. If you start to notice that your child themselves. You're worried about how they're feeling, their emotions. They're closing their doors, not wanting to interact with the families. Bring them into their pediatricians. We have lots of tools. We love talking to our kids because for us, it's not just the physical, but it's the emotional, the physical, and the mental that really wraps into the whole child. And we want to make sure that the whole child is great, not just the physical part, because we know that that's what's going to make them be their best, perform at their best, and be great.
Are there specific viruses you've been tracking this summer that parents should have kind of on their radar heading into the school year?
Ooh, there's a lot of viruses. But, right when they start school, there's going to be a lot of viruses. Kids are going to have colds. They're going to, we're going to start to see an uptick in flu. We're going to start to see strep. Most important thing is, have their hand sanitizer, but make sure they're washing their hands. If they have a cold, if they have a cough, if they have a fever, make sure to bring them in to be seen. If your child is under the weather and not feeling well, sometimes the best thing to do is to take them in first before you take them to school, because you don't want them to spread those germs to the other kids. And then if they're sick, bring them in to see their pediatrician. We are ready and we're poised and we're expecting it. Right now we're seeing the healthy kids. We're doing all the physicals, but we're waiting. Once they start school and they are enjoying their friends and they're hugging and they're touching things and sharing things, we expect that they will start to get sick. So we will see an uptick of flu. So make sure that they get their vaccines. The flu vaccine will be available. We have all the vaccines available to protect our children.
Let's take a call. Camila's on the line from Houston. What's your question for Dr. Evans?
Yes, I do, Doctor. So should we be worried about buying all the latest gear, sneakers, to make sure our child isn't bullied? How do you have those conversations with your child?
So I think what you have to do is tell your child to be who they are. I know we don't want our kids to be bullied, but I don't think we need to break the bank. I think it's important. Maybe have them earn one thing that they enjoy, one thing that they really want, like say that one pair of sneakers. But then that's something that they have worked towards this summer. But then everything else, I think you need to keep it within your budget, because it'll be this one sneaker today, it'll be something else tomorrow. And, parents, right now, there's a lot of things that we have to invest in and pay for and stuff. So I think telling your kids, teaching your kids that it's not necessarily what you're wearing, what's on you, but it's what's inside you and what's, how you are that matters. And so continuing to preach to that and tell them about that. But we don't want them to be bullied, but we also want to say, hey, that kid who worries about what you have on you may not necessarily be that person who's your friend, but that person who wants to sit and talk with you and enjoy your time, that's probably going to be the person that's going to be your friend. So that's what you want to really try to enforce with them when you're working with your kids and talking to them about the school year and making friends and really fitting in, but being, most importantly, who they are and, knowing who they are.
Dr. Desiree Evans is a pediatrician at Texas Children's. Dr. Evans, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Just ahead, from the governor's directive on data centers to a tech company's new sunglasses that are just sunglasses, to a celebration over a key change on an organ. We contemplate intrigues in the news on the good, the bad, and the ugly as Houston Matters continues on News 88.7 and YouTube.
This week, we're chasing smoke. We're talking about live fire grilling across the Middle East. We've got Tennessee pitmaster Pat Martin talking about saving his beloved style of whole hog, and cookout etiquette, the hosts of the podcast, Raise My Wolves. It's coming up on the Splendid Table.
You can hear that Sunday at noon here on News 88.7.
PBS Drama on 8.
Dramas you can't stop watching. Now in one place. Stream on demand. Catch up on past seasons with Passport. Search HPM Plus on your smart and connected TVs.
50% of the
Turn
demand
left.
from large energy consumers in Texas comes from data centers. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Gina Hinojosa, meanwhile, is criticizing the governor for the apparent about-face. She notes Abbott, quote, spent recent months branding Texas the epicenter of AI development and championing the industry. Governor Abbott now wants to know how much power and water they'll use before new data centers connect to the grid. Is this good or ugly, Charles Governor?
I mean, it's good for us. It's good for Gina Hinojosa. It's not so good for Greg Abbott, who has basically left giant skid marks on the earth as he has frantically braked and tried to reverse course from his, deep love affair with these things. Look, one could ask, why is it we didn't know about the impact, or at least possible impact, of all these data centers before they were permitted? I mean, it's not a great mystery. It's known that they're big energy and water hogs. We have some idea of how many of them are applying for permits. Shouldn't be that hard to have added up the numbers and come up with a reasonable figure. In fact, I think I've seen figures for